So MD exams are around the corner. March is almost over. I've been feeling nostalgic. This time a year ago, I too, like some of you, was preparing for one of the most important exams in my career, my final MD exams. For those of you who are new here, my name is Anmol. I'm a doctor based in India, and on this channel I talk about all the things related to being a doctor and a dermatologist in India that I learned along the way. Preparing for MD exams was a long and exhausting process, but it's funny that I don't remember it as a time of struggle anymore. I remember it fondly. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of stress. I had like massive telogen effluvium, but it passed. My hair grew back as well, so it's gonna be okay. I was able to score well too. My university rank was 4, so in the end it all turned out well. This video is my way of partly sharing my experience and my journey, and also guide you a bit about my takeaway lessons from this preparation phase and some tips for you so that your preparation is relatively more flawless. So the time that I started preparing for my MD exams sincerely and with intent was right after I submitted my thesis, which was around beginning of January. Exams were scheduled around May, so I knew that I had about 4 months to prepare. In Jan and Feb, I still had to go to the hospital, so it was obviously a little bit more challenging. You have to juggle work with preparation, plus there's that associated anxiety coming to work because you just want to focus on your studies during the last few months. Nevertheless, I tried to study as much as I could at the hospital. I used to read 1 chapter from drugs and 2 articles per day at work. I had set this minimum target for myself that this much I have to finish even if I'm at the hospital, just so that I don't feel like I have lost the first half of my day and I haven't studied anything. The first thing that I did when I started preparing was I sat down and made a list of everything that was to be read. So this is the list that I made, and I now realize that I missed out IADVL handbook for residents from this list. Otherwise, it's kind of a complete list of everything that is to be read while preparing for your MD exams. The biggest chunk of this is obviously the IADVL textbook, the three volumes of IADVL textbook. I wanted to buy the latest edition of IADVL for my preparation, and I remember that the 5th edition became available for buying around mid-February. Throughout my residency, I had not read IADVL even once. I was mostly reading Bologna and making notes from it. And I had made up my mind that I will not purchase the old edition, I'll buy the new one itself and I'll read that only. The advice that I had gotten from my seniors was to read more of foreign author textbooks during residency in order to build concepts, and to read IADVL only during the final months of your preparation in order to pass the exams. I think it worked out for me because the older edition of IADVL was not quite like the new one, the 5th one. Now, ever since I've read the newer edition of IADVL, I do advise residents to read IADVL from early on during their residency because some of the chapters are written so well. So basically, in January, while I was waiting for the newer edition of IADVL to become available for buying, I started reading STIs from VK Sharma and leprosy from IAL. Then around mid-Feb came the newer edition. I bought it as soon as I could, started reading it around mid-Feb, and finished reading the 3 volumes by around the last week of April. So I would say it took me around 2 months to go through the first reading of all the 3 volumes. Now remember, for your preparation, you have to go through the entire IADVL at least once. But when you're doing this cover to cover read of IADVL for your preparation, you don't have to read all the topics from IADVL itself. There are some topics that are better explained at other sources. So those topics you can skip reading from IADVL and instead read from those sources. For example, some topics of dermatosurgery and the procedural dermatology part, aesthetic derm. Then some topics of anatomy, physiology and embryology are better given in other books as compared to IADVL. Also, even STI and leprosy. There are certain STI and leprosy chapters or topics that are better explained in VK Sharma or IAL instead of IADVL. So for those topics, you can skip reading those topics from IADVL altogether and read it only from that place. Even the drugs, not everything has to be read from Wolverton. Honestly, I had to figure this out for myself the hard way. I had to read one topic from multiple books to understand it better. But I think for you guys, I've made it fairly easy because I've put out a list of which topic is to be read from which source. I've made a fairly detailed list and put it on my channel where I have listed the topics and where are you supposed to read them from, and you only have to read it from that particular source and skip it altogether from other sources. So it's quite a time saver, honestly. I'll add the link to that particular video where I talk about this resource in the description. So on the first day of my preparation, after I made this list of everything that was to be read, I divided it according to the time that I had for my complete preparation. So I allotted X number of days for STIs, Y number of days for leprosy, Z number of days for first volume of IADVL, and so on. So that's how I planned it out. I had planned it out in such a way so that by mid-April, I have gone through the entire syllabus at least once. Exams were scheduled around mid-May, so I had about 1 month for revision. Once I made this plan, how many days I'm going to allot to each topic, I had a fair idea of, suppose I gave X number of days to STI. So how much do I need to read per day in order to complete that target in set time? After this, I had a bit of an idea that if I have to complete, suppose STI in X number of days, then how much do I need to read per day? How much do I need to finish reading in a day so that I'm able to achieve this target in that set number of days? And that's how I set daily targets for myself from January onwards. So from January onwards, it was decided that 1 drug per day, 2 articles per day, and along with that, whatever chunk that I had planned that I had to cover in 1 day in order to finish the entire syllabus by the set time. I feel like this is a very effective approach because there's so much anxiety during that preparation period. You have all of the syllabus ahead of you and you're wondering, how are you going to do this? Kaise hoga? And if you have made a proper plan, and you know that, okay, you have your daily targets, and if you finish those daily targets, there's a plan, so it gives you a sense of achievement. You have your daily small wins and you feel like you've got it under control, that you'll get through it. Like I said, for drugs and articles, I did not allot any time separately. From January onwards, I just started reading 1 to 2 drugs and 1 to 2 articles per day, and slowly completed them side by side alongside the rest of the preparation. I started my preparation with paper 3, so I decided to first finish STI and leprosy. So in January, I started reading STIs from VK Sharma, and in January I finished with STIs, and around February I started reading leprosy from IAL and a few topics from IADVL as well. March onwards, my prep leave began. First thing I did was pack my bags and leave for home. I've always been able to study better at home. There's so much extra help and comfort. I turned to my mom for everything: food, study advice, stress advice. So March onwards, preparation began in full swing. Once I finished with STI and leprosy, I started reading IADVL, like I said, around mid-Feb. And so I had figured it out that mid-Feb I'm starting, mid-April I have to finish. So there are so and so number of chapters including all the 3 volumes of IADVL. So how many chapters do I need to finish reading per day so that I'm able to get through the whole book by mid of April? And that's how I set my daily targets from February onwards, and just started finishing them slowly. This is what my daily routine looked like in the months leading up to the exams. I used to wake up around 9 a.m, have breakfast, and get to studying by 9:30. 9:30 to 1, I used to have my first session for the day with a short snack break of around 15 minutes around 11 a.m. Then I used to have lunch till 2:30. I used to sit again for studying around 2:30. So the second session used to be from 2:30 to 6 p.m. This was, regardless to say, the least productive session. I often ended up taking a short nap on the table. Then 6 p.m. to 6:30 was a very special time. This is the time that I cherished the most. I used to look forward to it throughout the day because at around 6 p.m. each day, I used to go up to my terrace for a relaxing stroll. I used to listen to my favorite music and just relax for about half an hour in the the environment of the terrace. It was the best time of my day. It helped me relax and sort of energize me for all the exhausting study sessions, as I used to really look forward to it. Then around 6:30, I used to go back up to 9. I used to study again. So 6:30 to 9 p.m. Then 9 p.m. I used to have dinner. Again, used to sit for studying about 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. 1 a.m. I used to call it a day, and I continued to get my 8 hours a day sleep throughout my preparation period as well. So as per my target, by mid-April, I had finished the entire syllabus once. So now I had about a month for revision. For revision, I strictly stuck to previous 10 years question papers. Honestly, I didn't have much time to do much else as it is. And that worked for me because most of the important parts of the syllabus are eventually covered through question papers. I had exactly 4 weeks for revising all the paper 1 to paper 4 last 10 years question papers. So I gave about 1 week to each paper. probably slightly more for paper 1 and 2. I first started revising paper 4, then 3 and 2, and then at last I started revising paper 1. We got only a day's prep leave between each paper, so there wasn't much scope of revising just a day prior to the paper. In any case, I still stuck to revising just the question papers even during my prep leave, like the gap that you get between two papers. And just like that, it all got over. So that was a detailed account of my journey. Sharing it with you allowed me to have like a bittersweet revisit of my own. But I just want you to remember that you too are going to remember these days fondly someday. For now, just stay at it. It's only a matter of few months, and focus on the good part, the post-exams phase. Now very quickly, I want to share with you a few important tips regarding preparation, the things that I realized are extremely important looking back, and the things that I learned from my journey. This is not just for exam going residents, but also for those who have just started their residency. Number 1, set an approach and make a plan. At the beginning of your preparation, plan it all out. How are you going to go about it? Which topics are going to be completed by when? By what time will you be done with your first reading? How much time you're going to have for revision? Number 2, set daily targets as per your plan. In order to finish this part of your syllabus in so many days, how much do you need to read per day? How many chapters do you need to finish in a day? Firstly, it avoids a lot of unnecessary anxiety, and your small daily wins give you a confidence in your preparation and also a sense of achievement. Read IADVL from the beginning of your residency. The 5th edition is quite good, especially the topics that I've mentioned in my list. Refer to the list, utilize that resource so that you don't have to read various books to understand which topic is given best at which place. Make notes from IADVL and Bologna throughout your residency. Do not wait to read IADVL only during the last few months of your residency close to exams. Number 4, solving question papers. Start doing this early on. I don't understand why most people wait till the final months of residency close to exams to start doing question papers. Go through the question papers and read accordingly in your residency itself. You can also, from the question papers, make a chapter-wise list of questions in each chapter, so that you know what's being asked from that chapter and what is really important. So you can focus more on that part. Number 5, try to finish at least the entire syllabus 1 month prior to the exam, so that you have at least a month for revision. Revision is very important. When you're revising papers, in case there's a shortage of time to revise, start with paper 4, then 3 and 2, and at last paper 1, so that you end up revising paper 1 close to the beginning of your exams. Number 7, since you have to devote such a large portion of your time studying, try to make it less boring. Here are a few ways of how you can make long hours of studying less boring during your preparation phase. Discussing the topics with friends, although I'm not a big fan of group study, but if it works for you, good enough. Then teaching yourself out loud. This worked well for me. Changing locations while studying. I don't know, but for some reason this helped me a lot. Try studying outdoors. Try not to be caged indoors all the time. Read in fresh air close to nature as well. And take short breaks in between long study sessions to kind of re-energize. Number 8, do at least something that you love doing, that you really look forward to doing for at least half an hour a day. Like I said, for me it was my music and time close to nature. So do that. Half an hour, take it out for something that you love and you look forward to. And finally, I know this may sound cliche, but the day prior to the exam, sleep at least 6 hours, have proper lunch and breakfast, and stay in a comfortable environment. I think this mostly covers it all, and I hope that it helps you in your preparation. If you have any more questions, or if any of the exam goers this year have any doubts regarding their preparation, please feel free to get in touch with me. You can leave me a comment below, or you can connect with me on Instagram or via email. All the very best. You've got this, and it will all be over very soon. Just a few more days of complete focus and you will surely be rewarded well. Thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one.